Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, everybody, on this beautiful Super Bowl Sunday. I am Chris. I am here with my two brothers, Jake and Juan, two out of the four. We are HHC Heroes in a Half Court. This is our weekly podcast where we talk all things Spurs basketball. Um, we've had a pretty active week. We have trade deadline that came and went, which normally doesn't mean too much for San Antonio, but not the case this year for sure. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about with that. We are currently on our Rodeo road trip, one of the longest trips of the year. So we're trying to build together some cohesiveness and get some wins on the road. We'll break that down at least the first week, and then we'll look ahead for our 4 games that we have to play this upcoming week, as well as some other conversation sprinkled in the middle. So super excited to jump in. Jake, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Very excited to talk about this trade deadline. Very excited to talk about what this last week of Spurs basketball was. Just too much to talk about this for this last week.
Yeah, crazy packed. Juan, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just jump in. Like we said, it was a roller coaster of emotions as we can, as we think about the trade deadline, right? So let's start there. I'll start with the smaller deal. So the deal that we all hoped would come to fruition, and I think we were a lot of Spurs fans were feeling pretty nervous as we got closer and closer to the deadline, was the Thaddeus Young situation. We've seen buyouts happen, way back when, not way back when, but pretty consistently from like the Pau Gasol era moving forward. So I think most people were just hoping, pray to God, let's not have that happen. Let's get some kind of return. And lo and behold, we get a Thad Young plus Drew Eubanks to Toronto, lands us a first round pick, plus Goran Dragic, but that's expected to be bought out, right? So just starting there. I mean, I think most people are pretty all around approve of this deal. But Jake, I know you're not feeling too well in terms of your voice, so just with whatever you can, how did that deal hit you?
Oh man, I think I was just happy that we got any return for Thad Young. I was a little sad to see that we traded Drew. Like, I mean, I think even if he's not playing to what a lot of Spurs fans think that like we should have in a player like that. I still think that he gave us all that he could, and he provided as much as he could whenever we asked of it. So to see a guy like that get traded away, and then especially to see him get waived, that was something that I wasn't too happy to see. But at the end of the day, it is just like a business, like, right? That's how everybody talks about it. That's how that's generally just how it works. So that was like the only sad thing that I saw from the trade. The only thing that comes to my mind whenever that Young trade happens, other than just being surprised and being happy that we were able to move Thad Young to a team and get a in a sense move up in the draft for it. So
sure. Juan, Jake had said I just was praying to get some kind of return. Did you see a round 1 coming?
No, but so that's something that we didn't mention in the trade. We gave up that Detroit second round pick.
Yes.
So that could have been, like the top 3, like in the second round. So it's like in the 30s, like early 30s. So it's basically a late first round pick. And yeah, so to be able to get a first round pick out of that, I know we had to use the second round pick, but I thought it was a perfect use of, you basically traded away a player you did not play. He wasn't going to be here. And a filler guy in Drew. And I agree with a lot of the same things Jake said, like about Drew, and like I loved his energy. But like to move up basically into the first round, depending on where Toronto falls, we could have a pick now in the teens, as opposed to just holding on to Thad and letting him buy out and go wherever he wanted and get the and then just hope the second round pick Detroit just like stays where they're at. It's like I really do like that deal, and the value of that deal was what I wasn't expecting it. Like you had said, like I was fully expecting the Thaddeus Young buyout and somewhere along those lines. So to get the pick out of it was A+ in my book.
Yeah, and like the things that you were saying of like we expected the buyout. we expected to kind of watch other things transpire, right? And so the key of that, or the thread of that, is that usually the Spurs are very not inactive but passive, right? And we have to see a lot of these things happen. And so to see us be on the offensive, so to speak, when it came to that was pretty crazy. I agree with you guys what you're saying. Me personally, I was on the train of like if we get a second round for Thaddeus Young, that's a win in my opinion. Like at this point, you know what I mean? Like kind of what you were saying. Let's just try to get some return. So starting off the trade, like ball as it started to roll like that. At that point, it was like heck yeah, A plus, like you said. I don't think you're gonna find too many faults in that. I do echo the sentiments of Juan. I mean, sorry, of Jacob about Drew getting bought out. I hope that somebody picks him up because he has utility. I mean, no, I'm not gonna go there. Never mind. I was gonna throw some fuel to the fire and be like, what's to stop what's to stop the San Antonio from picking him up again for the exact same role, less, put him on the bottom of the bench and what you're getting at that point.
And I'm not sure like how the rules work as far as like being able to just pick a guy up immediately that you just traded away. But like I've always was one of the bigger defenders of Drew, and I know a lot of Spurs fans on Twitter like dog him or happy that he's gone and stuff like that. But it's like he did his role. He was never signed to this team to be the starting center. Yeah. And so, he did his job. Jakob was out. Jock was out like for periods of time, and he went in and played. He did his time. It wasn't his job to be starter. That's anything better than like what he was given was like a plus. But like to hold it against him that he wasn't competing with Anthony Davis like against starting at like lineup. It's like that was never his job. But I hope he gets picked up somewhere just because Spurs fan. Like he was always doing the community stuff, and he was part of like the coffee gang stuff, all that type of stuff. Really good guy.
And who's to say like I think it would be awesome if a team that we've seen a lot of teams that field two big guys or they have size already. So you pick up a guy like Drew and now you're putting him in his best role, which is like you said, he's not going to sniff any action against a starting center. He's going to go in against a second or even a third string. So like at that point, you can see his value. So, best of luck to Thad in Toronto. I don't know if he's going to play that much, but at least now he has a chance to, the same way that he kind of was able to mentor our young guys and speak to them. And he had a great attitude this whole time he was here. Now he can just do that for a team that's trying to push themselves into, maybe, I don't know where you guys see Toronto second roundish playoffs. I'm not sure. Yeah. But at least, now his skill set can be, put in that effort, I guess. So, much luck to both of those guys moving forward. All right. So A plus at this point, then our GM comes and, makes a big swing. And we'll see where it lands in terms of how people reacted to it. I mean, if you were close to it, you either went one way or you went the other. So Derrick White, staple of our organization at this point. Won already. Yeah, I know. I feel you. Brought so much to our team. I'll let you guys fill in the blanks and keep going. But Derrick White to Boston Celtics. We got Langford, who is a wing. And I'm sorry, I did not even write their first names down, but we got Langford. I think it's Josh Richardson. And then another first round pick for this year. I forgot to mention that well, you guys already said it, but both first round picks that we've gotten are for this upcoming draft. So Derrick White to Boston. We lose a big piece. We get back Langford, Richardson, round one for this year. Jake, I'll start with you first, and then we'll let Juan go.
Yeah, just to add to that trade, there was also a pick swap in 2028. So, that's something to me that holds very much value because we don't know what both teams are going to be looking like by 2028. We could be like trying to win championships, and Boston could be in the lottery by 2028.
So can you real quick, because I'll be honest, you would be shining light on it for me as well. Like, could you explain real quick, like what that swap?
So the pick swap doesn't necessarily mean that we're like trading and gaining another first round pick, but it's quite literally like at that point in that year, I assume it was top one protected. So if Boston literally has any pick above San Antonio or even technically below San Antonio, San Antonio has the right to just swap picks. They have the right to just give them the pick that San Antonio owns for that year and take whatever Boston owns that year.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, again, like you're saying, it's not a bet, but I think they call it a hedge, right? Where it's just like, let me just put that up to the side, and if it falls my way, it falls my way. Okay, I mean, yeah, good value there too. So on top of that, Langford, Richardson, first round pick swap in the future. Still, how did the deal hit you?
It was very shocking. It was very, very shocking. I was sitting in my dorm all day looking for trades, like just as an NBA fan, like, man, I can't wait to see what big name gets called. Like, this is so exciting. I just saw this trade happen. These big names are getting placed. I can't wait to see what happens around the league. This just in, the San Antonio trades Derrick White, and I'm like, oh, whoa, like,
Yeah.
huh? We did that? Like, no, that's not what I was thinking. So it was a shocker to say the least. Derrick's always been a fan favorite. I don't think I feel like I've always been a Derrick apologist. Like, no matter how much of a slump he'll be in, I've always been the person that's just like, nah, believe in Derrick White, believe in him. Know that he makes the right plays, even if he can't shoot the ball all too well right now. Like
Until
I
he gets to Boston and is lighting it up.
yeah, I mean, but either way, it's just like I was so shocked to see the trade happen. And the initial thoughts were just like, man, I hope we get I hope we get a crazy return. And I would like to say that the return was fine. I would like to say that the return was fine. I'm not telling you that I'm like very much happy with the deal because we just traded away a guy that the one thing is like it was a shocker to a lot of people. Even Dejounte Murray tweets out like a crazy like, what the heck? I didn't know this was coming. Derrick White talks about how shocked he was. This is the first time that I think San Antonio has ever made a trade like that where we didn't necessarily fill our players in on the information at hand. And that's the only thing that's not fun for me because you hear plenty of times where players are like, oh, I heard this trade happen over social media. I looked at the news and I saw that I got traded. And at least Popovich was able to just go into the hotel room and tell Derrick before the news broke out.
Yeah, and I think Pop usually he says that like he makes it a point, like that's one of the hardest things. I do it because it is that hard.
Yeah. And so that's like, to me, that's like the hitting point is like, oh, I hope this doesn't affect our team too much. It will. The way that the way that DJ and Devin have been talking about games these last couple of days, you can tell that it's just kind of affected them. Like, they miss their guy, so at the same time though, I think we did the thing to move forward with the timeline to be able to progress. We got somebody in Rodeo Langford that's, to me, a project piece. He's not necessarily going to get PT above any of our guards and wings now, but there's a chance that he can develop decently well within these next 2 years, and he actually could kind of hit rotations and start to be a solid role player for us. Who knows? Josh Richardson is a solid role player right now, so there's a chance that we could flip Josh Richardson for a first round pick within the next 2 years, or whatever. He's going to be on the books next year, so that means that we are keeping him unless we flip him in the offseason or during the regular season next year. And he's not a bad role player, so if we can kind of put him in a valuable position, put him in a position where he's hitting his shots, playing good defense, and teams are starting to see Josh Richardson play good. He was playing solid for the Celtics this year. But let's just say we can try to make him that much better, right? Then we can flip him for something, and that just, to me, that adds value to the Derrick White trade, right? Like, it all kind of stems down to, this was the base trade that we made with our draft pick, and this is what we're turning it into.
Yeah, it's kind of like how people still link the moves, like from Kawhi turned into DeRozan, turned into these, like, and all that kind of stuff. So I understand that. All right. So Juan, like, the way that Jake is talking, it's like you either have to really hold on to the things that were, or let me say it this way. If you're holding on to the things that we lost, you probably feel this way about the deal. If you put most of your energy into the things that we're gaining, you maybe can move yourself over to this side, right? And that's spoiler alert. That's where I've been over the past couple of days. But Juan, like where were you a couple of days ago mentally? Has it changed? Because I know that me and you are probably a little bit more on the same side, at least in terms of how it hit you initially.
Yeah, so I could talk about this for like hours. This Derrick
Yeah,
White deal.
yeah.
This was one of the most painful, and it stung the most like deals I've ever experienced. I was not ready for it whatsoever. In the moment, I was very like surprised and like kind of in a shock state of mind. But the more and more like I see it, I get more bitter. I'm like, just I am mind blown. And this is like this stance that I had. I didn't want to make any deals. I didn't want to trade any of our guys. I had talked about on the podcast before. Um, if teams are giving you packages, picks, players, things for a guy, it's because he's valuable. It's because he's good. Wouldn't you want that on your team? Like, wouldn't we want to trade and make moves to get a player of that caliber? And it's like, and we just gave him away for it. And I get it. We got a first round pick, and it's like for the future, but I don't like it.
Mhm.
Now, I I I have admitted in the past, like I kind of lean towards those Spurs fans that people like complain about, and they're like, "Oh, you guys get too attached to your players, and you get to this, to that," and it's like, yeah, I get it. Like I'm too emotionally attached to Derrick White to like probably ever look at this deal objectively. Um, but when I watched the last two games and like Dejounte comes off the court and it's like, oh wow, if only we had another guard right now that could fill in and handle the point guard duties right now, or you could feel comfortable with it. And I know there were times this year where there were like he was on the court and there were some slumps, but everything he added offensively, defensively, the brains, the intangibles, he added all that, and he's a perfect glue guy to fit. He does not have to be like the best player on the court, but he just added so much. And I don't know who would you guys like say is the biggest piece of this deal, Josh Richardson or the pick?
In my eyes, the round one pick. In my eyes, it's Derek White, obviously, but I mean the pick in terms of the return.
So yeah,
Yeah.
now if we pick a guy, now we're waiting a couple years then and hope he's as good as Derek
Yeah,
White.
yeah.
And it's like you're punting for the future, and it's like, man, I don't know. The our Twitter account, the Heroes in Half Court, it tweeted out like, did Derek White like how come we never gave him a chance to come off the bench or like provide like a spark or provide like his impact somewhere else other than next to Dejounte? Because there were times where it was redundant, where it was point guard Dejounte passes it, and then Derek he ain't shooting well that night, and then he's basically the point guard of that thing, and then he tosses it to Dejounte, and it's like, well, he's not shooting it that night, and it's like redundant in that sense. But they're also defensively, Derek could take those assignments, so Dejounte didn't have to, so he can run the offense. Um, in that sense, like I'm very bitter, like in like I didn't want to give up Derek or pieces. I didn't want to trade Jakob for a pick and a player. And then now we're just like a bad team with no pieces and hoping one of these young pieces or a pick turns into Jakob or Derek. That's just how I take these things. Um, I don't know. I'm kind of getting like flustered right now, and I'm like losing track of like what it is. But like you asked, like how do I feel like that day, and how do I feel now? After watching a couple of games, I'm still bummed out, and I know it's because we haven't seen any of our trade pieces play yet.
Yeah.
I'm setting myself up to be like completely on the wrong end of this, where the first round pick can be like turned out to be like an all star, and it's like we see there you go, but this wasn't like a George Hill for Kawhi trade in the moment, and you could see the prospect you're getting, and you can see like, okay, we turned a backup point guard into a starting wing, So this is kind of just like hopeful and what could happen. I know like the flexibility, and I've argued some of that too for like some like players, but I just didn't want it to be at the expense of Derek.
Yeah,
That
yeah. Real quick. So I'm gonna add our fourth brother in here in just a second, and do a real quick audio check so we can just add them to the discussion. So welcome, Josh. Say hello real quick, and let's make sure we
Yeah,
can hear.
what's up, boys? Can y'all hear me good?
Yep.
Yeah, I think we're
All
good.
right, cool. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. You know I'm at work. I'm on call this weekend, so I've been out. I've been out all morning, but I got some free time right now. I've been listening to y'all, so I just wanted to jump in real quick. I can't really stay long, but and talk about the Derrick stuff because I know I heard Jake's points, I heard Juan's points. I didn't get to hear Chris if you were talking. I think I was outside
Not
of the
yet.
truck.
Not yet. Go ahead.
Okay, so I didn't get to hear what you said about it, but to me, um, y'all know me. I talked about like my up and downs with Derrick, like the last couple years, and it was like great for me. Like not, it was sad to see Derrick go because I agree with Juan and I agree with Jacob. Like I felt like he was at the older, of our young guys, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So so I feel like we got the first round pick. I feel like we got Romeo Langford, and I don't know much about the guy, but from what I've like read on the Boston side of things, like he was just a guy that didn't pan out for them. He got hurt his first couple of years. I believe this is his third year. So yeah, like Jake said, he's a project guy. I'm hoping that he could become part of the rotation. He could take some minutes if he comes in and shows out. He could take some minutes from Lonnie or Devin or Primo or any of our young guys if that guy works out. And from what I've seen about Richardson, he's a knockdown shooter, and we need shooting. Um, but yeah, the first round pick, man, that's great. I think we got a good return. I'm happy for Derrick because Boston they're on a little roll right now. He's gonna go. He's gonna be in the playoffs. I think he's gonna work perfect alongside Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Juan was saying that Derrick, he wasn't on our team to be the best guy. He wasn't on our team to be that guy. And over there, he's not. He's gonna do everything that Juan said alongside of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And that to me is like perfect situation for him. He's
Yeah.
he's gonna take that timely charge, and Jason Tatum's gonna go win it for him. He's gonna make that the timely steal, and he's gonna hit Jaylen Brown with the loop, with the alley oop. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna be perfect over there. So like I think both sides got San Antonio got a good return and a young piece, a pick, and a role player, and they got a solid dude. Like they got a solid guy. The chemistry between I was looking at the interview that they had with Derrick White. The chemistry between him and Jason Tatum looked like good. They have the Olympic team. They were on the Olympic team together. Like they looked like they got good chemistry between them three as far as Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Derrick White. Like I think it's gonna be perfect for both sides. So
Yeah.
I'm like really happy. Like I know Juan's sad. He said he's not feeling it, but like I think Derrick got put in the perfect situation. I think we got a solid return. I think it worked out for both sides.
Yeah. I get that. And to kind of add in a little bit of my feelings too, like one of the things that is over the past couple of days making me feel better about it is like what you're saying about Derrick is in a good position.
Mhm.
And I mean, he's still making his 17 million a year or whatever he's making, for the next couple of years. So
Yeah,
like he's in
for sure.
he's in a good position. And so like that's the one thing that's kind of it has, and he played well. That probably made me feel better too. Is he played well in his first game with
And
Boston?
and you know that Ime had something to do with that. Like, yo, this guy is a hooper. Get him over here. Like Ime has the Spurs ties, so
Yeah,
he's seen
and Hardy too.
yeah, like they've seen what Derek's about, and just like Juan said, like the intangibles and the glue piece that might have been what they have been missing. They have underperformed with their superstars
Yeah,
for
well,
X amount of years.
I think they start Marcus Smart at point guard, like that they needed a point, and Derek is
Well, like even if what you said, how you said, I believe Christopher tweeted out, Derek did not get the chance to run that second unit. Since they do have this two starters to this is going to be Derek's time to run that second unit and be the star out there, because when Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum sit, it could be the Derek White show, and he could thrive like perfect in that situation.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
like I'm happy for him. Like I am happy for him. And then
Yeah.
Boston, dude, he's in the Garden. He's playing in the Garden every night. He got a standing ovation his, first game, dude. They showed him love. So shout out to Boston, man.
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of holding me over because I mean I'm with Juan on so many of the other stuff. I think the thing that still gives me a little bit of concern is okay, so Dejounte Murray, he did tweet out that that reaction emoji or whatever. He felt a little. Or it looked like he didn't really know what was coming. That part bothers me a little bit still. I know he's not like a Tim Duncan or anything like that, and I have no idea if Tim Duncan was privy to any of the trades that went down over his tenure, right? Or if he even cared, because he might still have this. He might have the same response that Dejounte had, which was like he said like, we're here to play. We're not here to play basketball and be in the front office. We're here to play basketball. And I knew that was going to be his stance. He had the exact same stance when it came to the COVID restrictions, when he came to, it's like, even if I don't like it, that's not my role. My role is this, and I'm going to do that. So I knew that's kind of where he was going to be at, but it still does bother me a little bit just because it's like, if he's the building block, if he's the cornerstone of what we're trying to move around, and he has zero in intelligence or knowledge of the things that are happening with the team, that confuses me, but it concerns me like this much. And all it would take is one time of Dejounte saying like, I trust them, I don't need to be in that. Then I'm over it, I guess.
They all could have been blindsided because Derrick White was in Atlanta.
Yeah,
it could have just been like, Pop barely found out. Okay, let me go tell Derrick, and then Pop told the team. It could have just happened like this. Because I'm sure if they had knowledge of it, Derrick wouldn't even have been in Atlanta. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean,
it's just, and I understand like that's where the nature of the business creeps in and all of that kind of stuff. But it did still give me a little pause for concern that like, again, that our starting point guard was just like, whoa, like dang, because in his mind, that's his running mate at that point. That's the guy that we've put as the number 2 guy right next to him this whole time. And so it's like, it made me curious. It's like, what are the talks of like what our direction is going to be if our number 2, so to speak, just gets pulled like that. But like like you guys are saying, I'm going to try not to like repeat too many of the points. Initially, I was not not happy at all. I mean, like you guys said on the tweet, man. Like I was just like, it hit me so off guard, right? Like you said,
you were yelling into your phone. You said,
yeah, because of that thing. It was like, I see the pick as the biggest deal. Is a round 1, is it worth giving up all the things that we've lost for Derrick? I mean, that thing hit me hard because I mean, I've never had the idea of we're for a tank. You know what I mean? We've literally been right behind that play-in spot all year long, and so why wouldn't I be looking for that versus looking backwards?
Sean Elliott said yesterday that he thinks that we can make a push at that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, right. So it's been in our reach. I feel like our ups and downs have been mostly on the offensive end. We've played bad defense this year, but like, I mean, it's been like crazy dumbfounding. Like we'll go a stretch where we have 5 guys that cannot score at all. Then we move to the next lineup and we have 4 out of the 5 guys who cannot score at all. Like it's kind of come from that offensive end, and so like the ups and downs are going to come with that. But what can stay constant is your defense and how you approach the game from that point of view. And Derrick was the, I mean, Derrick and DJ, they led us with that mentality, right? So like that's the stuff. It's like, why wouldn't you want that around?
Boys,
I guess.
I'm sorry, but I'm sorry to cut you off, Christopher.
No, you're good.
I got to go right now. Thanks for letting me in and let me get a little bit off my chest from what I heard. But I'm gonna continue watching and I'll be in the comments, so y'all look out for me.
Yeah, right on.
Right on.
All right then.
All right.
We'll see y'all guys later.
All right, bye, Josh. All right. Well, so anyways, just to kind of keep it going, like like the things that he brought are the things that we could do to help us stay in games even when we're not shooting well. So it just makes me feel like, dang. So now if we don't shoot well, it's going to be even worse, right? Because those things we're not with those things, and I'm still not like 100%. Like I guess where I'm sitting at right now is just the point of view of like, I don't have to like the trade to understand the trade. I don't have to like the trade to accept the trade, and also I don't have to like the trade, or I guess I should say, if I dislike the trade, that doesn't mean that I'm not supporting my guys anymore. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of where I am. It is very bittersweet. And when it comes to the sweet part of the bittersweet, it's really just the fact that I think that Derrick White's going to be in a good position where he's at. The more that I look at it, maybe the fact that he is making that 17 mil, maybe if he's on the 14 mil per year, maybe that's enough of a threshold for the Spurs to feel like we can keep him. I don't know the numbers on a year-to-year basis and the ins and outs and as nearly as much as other people who dig into all those things. But in my opinion, he did not look like his contract was against our timeline. His age being, 3 years or so older than a lot of our other guys did not hit me as a negative towards the team that we were building. So like that part, I don't really see at all as like, freeing up our money and all that kind of stuff. It was like we were already in a decent spot to have good flexibility, to have, and maybe that's the idea of them turning good flexibility to great flexibility. And in that point of view, that's where it rubs me the wrongest way. It's like, I feel like that's a big loss to go from good to great in terms of our flexibility. But again, we'll know the full scale of it or the full scope of it in a few months when we get to see more of the return,
Definitely. I wasn't a fan of like the talk about like, yeah, his age and the contract stuff. Cause it's like, well, what are we going into the offseason and signing Doug for 4 years at like 13 mil?
Yeah.
And he's 30 years old. You know what I mean?
That's a contract that you would move because he's older. He's making that 14 mil and he's a specialty guy. And we can, if one of our biggest issues is our inconsistency in shooting, and we brought in this guy to be a consistent shooter and we're still having those problems, maybe we get rid of that contract and look for a guy who's going to be maybe as inconsistent but cheaper. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
And so I hesitate to get my head down that road because then I think in my head, well, maybe that's what they're thinking about Derrick White. Let's get a guy who's going to be as inconsistent but can do some of the things he does, but for a lot cheaper. And that's why it hits me hard because I'm like, that probably is where their head is, and I hate it, but it is, that's that side of the game.
I will say one thing about like these last couple of games. Dejounte had otherworldly games. There was 30-point triple doubles, 30 points, like near triple double, and it kind of like hides that. He's going off. He's getting it done offensively, defensively, everywhere he can, and it like hides that. I feel like that Derrick was missing. People were saying like, oh, okay, maybe we are better without Derrick, and I agree. Like, in the sense of like, it takes away that redundancy. Now he doesn't have to share the ball with a guy. But what if there's a game where Dejounte doesn't go for a 30-point triple double?
Yeah, or we've had 2 games in a row now where we've shot well above how our average for the year. So it's like, we got 4 opportunities this week. Like, give me a game where we're shooting our average at best. And now let's see, like, how are we going to get ourselves into a victory at that point? It's got to be from the defensive end. It's got to be from the intangibles end. And from that point of view, we just lost one of our best players. So it's like, who's going to step into that role? I need to see it.
Yeah, and I know the other argument could be like, well, Derrick was not a good shooter, so that's why your shooting goes up. But it's like, I don't know. Derrick adds too much to the game, like in every possible way, and I don't know. I'm gonna be bitter about it for a while. He's one of my favorite players. I loved his energy. I loved the things he did, and I am not happy about it. But
yeah,
I agree with you where it's like I can understand the direction we're going with, the thing we wanted to do, and not be happy with it.
For sure. Yeah. And just the last bit, not to end on a negative note, but what you said too, and what I tweeted the other day is like the most disappointing part is just the fact that it feels like we didn't exhaust every option with Derrick White over the course of his time with us, which was multiple years. So like that part feels disappointing because it doesn't feel like we were able to make the most educated decision on him in terms of his impact because we didn't try to put him in his most impactful position, in my opinion. And so that's like the most disappointing part is like we never got to see what a Derrick White leading the bench could have looked like. We never even got to try it. We didn't even try it. So like that, like to not try it man, they must have tons of confidence in Trey Jones and Josh Primo, and I'm still looking forward to seeing the opportunities that they're gonna get moving forward. You know what I mean? I wish Josh could have stayed a little bit longer because in talking about us losing guys, it did slide. It changes things, right? So one of the biggest changes we've seen is Devin Vassell getting moved into that starting lineup. And what we're gonna see moving forward is more opportunities for Trey Jones and Josh Primo. We'll kind of shelve that Vassell the Vassell talk for later. But getting this new thing, we were able to kind of turn the shuffle that we've seen. We were able to kind of still stick together and pull out a couple good victories, over this past week. So let's kind of jump into our 3 games. Not a bad week. Not a bad week. I think it went around as we expected. Me and Jake kind of bounced back and forth the idea of losing to Cleveland and winning the back-to-back, or maybe having that we had a good amount of rest before the Cleveland game, maybe coming in with a good game plan and trying to sneak one against Cleveland, and then maybe the back-to-back gets us. But I think we were both kind of sitting on we can win 2 out of these 3 games, and that's where that's kind of where it ended up falling. So Spurs versus Cavs on the 9th, 92-105. The Cavaliers beat us. I hate the games where the other team's superstar is sitting out, and then when they play the Spurs and they suit up and play, and then after the Spurs they go back to sitting. I can't stand that. But sure enough, Darius Garland wasn't playing too much before, went up and lit us up a little bit, and looked just like super comfortable, hitting just about everything over just about everyone. As well as the size. Still, I don't think we were able to overcome it. 92-105. Then we have the trade. For the last 2 games, right? Oh no, it was after. Was it after the Atlanta game?
No, it was right before. It was right before the Atlanta.
Okay. So we had our 2 games with our different lineup, or just with losing Derrick and Drew and Thad. But 136-121 victory over Atlanta. Then the next day, last night, a 124-114 victory over New Orleans. Both of them spurred by mainly, in my opinion, mainly good shooting, good offense. But especially with the New Orleans game, wire to wire control, good execution in terms of the things that you would see over the course of 48 minutes. I think Pop talked both times about having 48 minutes of execution, or playing good for 48 minutes. It was something that he harked on both games. So we can start wherever, Jake. Out of those 3 games, just walk us through the week, how you felt about it.
I'm just gonna talk about the week as a whole, because my guy Devin Vassell. Wait, where's my number 24? There we go. Yeah, my guy Devin Vassell has just been killing this week. He was so good this week. I don't care. I don't care what stat lines tell me on at least the New Orleans game. I'll care about the Atlanta game because he shot very well that one. But I'll hype up my guy Devin. I'll hype up my guy Devin anytime that I see him flourish. Which I feel like every time we want to open up opportunities, Devin's the one guy who I always see put in that extra effort to be I want it. You open up an opportunity for a guy like me to take it, I'm gonna try to take it. And so I love it. I love seeing more shots. It's not like his shots in New Orleans were bad shots. They just were not falling down as much, right? So I was just so happy to see Devin this week. That's really all I can really I don't know. That's the one thing that as soon as I saw Derrick get traded, I was like,
that's
Devin
the
Vassell
only
gets
thing you
starting.
can take from it.
Well, for me, okay, all right. I'll let you get your DJ talk in, man. I don't want to take your DJ talk away, but
NBA All-Star Dejounte Murray.
Mhm.
That guy showed I'm here. There's a reason. So I get what you're saying, but don't act like that's Devin Vassell's though.
I'm not saying Devin Vassell's the only reason we were winning this week, but I'm telling you that that was one of the biggest reasons that I was paying attention to Spurs basketball this week.
Yeah,
'Cause-
almost was knocking on the door of a career high. I think they just sat him because we were winning at that point. So he would have had it. He would have had it.
At this point, Devin's never gonna get 22. He's never gonna get 22. Every
Uh,
time he gets 20, and then Pop's like, "All right, sit down. You're done."
I think I saw somebody had posted a these are his high scoring games that are just below his career high, and there was a block this big of all 19, 19, 19, 19, 19. So he's been knocking on the door, a lot. But yeah, okay. So obviously, we're hoping to see. Okay, we're losing a big piece. Who's going to step up? We know that it provides more opportunity, and Devin was able to take a lot of that. He had got a lot of good aggression. I think the aggression has been the biggest thing, right? I mean, he's always got good looks, but now I think he was trying to get to the rim a little bit more, or I don't know. He was just finishing a lot at the rim. He just looked really
dunking,
good,
bro. He was taking it and just slamming that ball down anytime he had the chance, which.
Exactly. So love the things that we were seeing from him. Obviously we're led by our point guard, right? So Juan, obviously your eyes are kind of more zoned in on DJ. Like, what did you like from this week?
Yeah, so of course I'm like one of the biggest Dejounte fans. I always, and I at the same time I'm very very critical. So that Cleveland game, his stat line looked pretty average compared to like what he does. Even though he's averaging like around like that 29 and 8, he had like 16, some like 7 and 7 or something like that. But it was like bad shooting. He was missing like a lot of easy like shots at the rim. That whole game against Cleveland was just like shots were in and out. Primo had like 2 threes that were like
it was tough because like nobody who plays like the 1 or the 2 could get any kind of if they couldn't get 100% to the basket, right? Because of all the size. So it was like every drive that they did was they could get about 80% there, but that last little 20, well, I'm just gonna have to like try to flick the shot up around the guy, over the guy. Devin Vassell could get all the way to the rim. Keldon Johnson can get all the way to the rim. We just didn't see them really. I mean, I think they could have tried a little harder, but I guess credit to Cleveland's defense at that point. But keep going, my fault.
Yeah, so that Cleveland game was just like a lot of missed shots. I know we had like one of the worst 3-point shootings, or at least in the first half, because it was like Keldon was the only one who could hit anything. We made it a game. It was a 7-point game with like 3 or 4 minutes to go. We were in that game. It just got away from us, like a lot of games do this year. They just got away from us like at the end, and the score kind of ballooned. But so that was an example. Even like with Derrick still on the court, like next to Dejounte, like everybody kind of struggling. Dejounte doesn't have a great game, and we lose. It like that kind of stuff. It goes hand in hand. Dejounte has to be perfect, and unfortunately, right, with the way the team is, there are some games where like Keldon and Devin are very like perfect compliments. Even while Derrick was still on the team, like which led into the next game against Atlanta, where they both dropped 20 plus points. I think Devin was at like 20 to Jake's point, but like Devin and Keldon, like Keldon's growth as a scorer has been beautiful to watch. He went from like just like the bulldozing wing to like now to like the 3-point shooter, and now it's like he's driving, hitting like turnaround J's in the paint. It's perfect. And so to see Devin and Keldon complement DJ along with DJ's 30-point triple-double, we dropped 140 points. And I know Atlanta, I guess, like from like what their Twitter and stuff were saying, they're not the greatest defensive team, and they acknowledge that. But it was like perfect to see us take advantage of that. We didn't go out there and blow that game. And then it went into the New Orleans game where Dejounte has another great game. Everybody scores complimentary. Lonnie had 15 plus, Keldon 15 plus, Devin 15 plus, Doug McDermott 15 plus. I think Primo had like around 10. It was just a good game across the board, going with from the head of the snake, Dejounte Murray like leading the way.
Yeah, and like you were saying, like sometimes it feels like DJ has to be perfect. Obviously, like the best case scenario is where DJ plays really well because DJ wants to be well for himself, but you got guys that can just spread it around, and nobody has to be overtly, successful. I mean, like, so let's this 136 to 121 over at Atlanta, 32 for DJ. You get 26 from KJ, and you get 20 from Devin. But really, I mean, that at that margin, 121 and 136. You don't even really need Devin to hit at that point. You don't need Devin to hit 20. Not when we get 13 from Doug, 12 from Jakob, 13 from Josh, and then it kind of falls off a little bit. 9 from Trey, which is good. But when we get that spread, that distribution, right? So I mean, that's what I'm hoping to get more. Is just a little bit more of I'm gonna try to be as good as I can be, and if that puts me at that 15 range, to support my point guard. If everybody has that mentality, we'll have enough points. You know what I mean? And I'll do what you guys did, because this is my guy. Like you said, everything that he does now just feels so much more purposeful, and I think it's because he's just starting to see the game a little bit slower and a little bit more of like, at the ball's coming this way, I'm shooting it. Like that's the best shot, or the ball's coming this way, I'm going to drive, but it's not just going to be like I get that tunnel vision, I'm going 100 miles an hour. This guy will feel contact and then do a little spin. He's putting little floaters up, finishing through contact, getting to the rim and slamming it if he has the lane. Like, just feels like he feels like he's got more options now. And man, it's nuts. So all of that is great. I love all that, right? It feels like he's maturing as a player. And then as soon as he's done hitting the shot where he feels more mature, he goes back to just like screaming his head off. And so it's like such a perfect balance, or we're hoping we're coming into a great balance of that poise and that control mixed with that. I'm a young kid. I'm not angry, but I'm just fiery, and I'm trying to beat you. I'm trying to beat you. So like, yeah,
it's
I'm excited,
so
man.
different. It's like it fuels me. I'm just watching the game, and I see him getting up and screaming. He threw the alley-oop, and he was the one like screaming.
Yes.
And Devin Vassell was just kind of like nonchalant.
I think Sean said, I don't know who's more excited, Devin or Keldon. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, love it.
And that's much needed. It brings such a fire and like energy to the team. There was a play I loved from Keldon where Dejounte like calls for like a pick and roll with Jakob, and Jonas Valanciunas comes out of the paint, and Dejounte just swings it to Keldon, and Keldon immediately recognized, okay, Big's out of the paint, and like we're just right into his move and just attack the paint and just got the slam. And it's like, yeah, like you said, like the recognition, the understanding of the game, it's all coming to him, and it's beautiful to watch his development. Just this year alone, he's grown so much.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and his excitement doesn't ever feel, or it doesn't feel like he's getting too anxious and that his excitement is starting to mess him up, or like he can't walk that balance. It's like it just feels like he's finding that balance, man, and it's awesome. I'm so happy for him. And also, like, again, kind of through the lens of the Derrick White trade, it's like he's gone. You know what I mean? So you have to feel, well, where like who's going to be continuing to move forward with us? Who are we really growing with? And so to see KJ step into that role, you can start to see what grown man KJ is going to be like, right? And so if we can just start to get a little bit more Devin along the way, a little bit more Josh Primo along the way, like obviously that's where we're headed, right? That's the hope. And Yak too, man. Yak, I will say, I think it was Cleveland. But man, there's just times out there where this guy is legit going 2-on-1, like power forward and center versus our center, and it's insane to me how we first off how we ask him to do that is insane to me. And what's even more insane is how this guy just says, yeah, I guess I'll just go do it. I'll just be the only big on the floor for us, and still be able to contest this shot, lean over and try to contest this shot, get a decent amount of rebounds, get blocks along the way, provide that, like. Yeah. I love Yak, and that's the same thing. I know I'm kind of going backwards a little bit, but like when you were saying about like I do not want to give up Yak for a first round pick and this and that. It's like thinking about the utility. Yeah, I was like, we asked this guy to do so much for us, and we're considering losing that over a pick that may or may not be what we just got. You know what I mean? Like, so it just we've started to see really good things from a lot of different players, and hopefully as we move forward, I mean, we're seeing them happen more often, and that's leading to more wins more often. You know what I mean? Like that's the goal. Yeah.
Two things that I want to add real quick. Obviously I was talking about saying like, oh, I was only watching Devin Vassell. No, obviously I was watching the whole team, and there's things that I was noticing. And one of the things that, especially when I look at the stat sheet for like the Atlanta game, is like our shot distribution, and just kind of seeing like how you see 18 shots from DJ, you see 13 from Devin, 13 from KJ, And we're seeing 11 off the bench from Josh. And then in the next game, it's like 13 off the bench with Lonnie, I think, right? But it's like close to the same type of thing. But this time it's 10 from Jock and 13 from Lonnie, right? But only 2 shots from Josh. I kind of like seeing that kind of stuff, as well as like seeing like how the assist numbers are playing out, because it feels like we're playing a more team-oriented ball game now. Like the flow is just it's just there. Like it's quite literally like I feel like I've seen more Devin assists than I have in like this last week than I have like in a good minute, because he's just been able to find his guys in a more team-oriented offense than us kind of stopping the ball and just giving it to our point guard to make the play, you know?
Yeah. Or when we had like Juan was saying, when we had 2 point guards on the floor at both times, because not to push against Derrick White, but there were many times where there was flow to the game, and then when Derrick White gets the ball, he's more of a prober. He takes those little tiny steps, and he kind of finds his way and finds the path. But sometimes the path is like moving. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and then even though like that was kind of happening, it still felt like whenever Trey Jones got on the court, it at least stopped the bleeding that was going to happen without Derrick White. You know what I mean? Like it still felt like we had a point guard. We still had a solid enough point guard that when we needed to stop the ball, when we weren't trying to just play like a flowing motion offense, we had Trey Jones, if DJ wasn't on the court, to be able to hold the ball and make his plays. And I feel like Trey is kind of going a little under the radar in how solid he was this week, because his stats are very quiet. 5, 3, and 4 against the Pelicans on only 2 for 4 shooting. And then in the Atlanta game, he went, let me see if I can find him real quick, 9, 4, and 2 on 4 for 6, So it's like, yeah, like his stuff's always going to be a little quiet, but I feel like there's always something that like it could be kind of said that we are developing Trey Jones. He can be the backup point guard whenever DJ's off the court, and I feel like at some point it is going to feel like we're like, all right, well, we have 48 minutes of a true point guard, and Trey's gonna, he's gonna kill second units.
Yeah, and it's going to be a little bit of a different feel too, because Trey Jones can come out and lead our second unit while still the offensive focal point is going to be like a Lonnie Walker versus Trey Jones. You know what I mean? So it's going to be different. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. Plus, I mean, to see the continued work of getting Zach Collins in. We didn't see him last night, sitting out the second night of the back-to-back, but we could see a lot of the good things, the same like the pick and pops and just the moments that he's going to be able to sprinkle his contributions in as well. So that was another thing that we've started to get the ball rolling on Zach Collins, so I'm excited. That's another thing that kind of brings me in. I did write it down in my notes that for the Atlanta game, I said I needed that to lift my spirits after the White trade, right? So like I'm just trying to look for all the positives that we can find for these next couple of weeks, because it is bittersweet still to think about it, because of all the things that we're seeing positively, you wish that Derrick could have been there with us to do all those things, because he's capable or whatever.
Yeah. And
I'll go ahead.
Well, I was gonna kind of lead into like another point, like a little topic we can talk about. It's no secret that like Lonnie's been struggling, and his like role within the team, he kind of looks lost, or not lost, but like there's times where he looks like he's not like, I don't know, it's like it's hard to explain, like he's just disinterested, or he's kind of just like going through the motions, not necessarily like in a bad way sometimes, but sometimes he's like scared to do anything. It looks like he's just like kind of just out there, right? And there was a game this week, I don't remember which one it is, where like Lonnie had like 12 minutes and Primo played like 28, and
it was the one before the trade deadline. It was the first game of the week, because a lot of people were kind of speculating, hey, Lonnie didn't play that much today. Primo got a lot of minutes over him today. I wonder what that's alluding to or whatever.
It was also the Atlanta game. Juan, to be more specific, it was the Atlanta game that Primo did have 28 minutes and Lonnie had 13. In that Cleveland game, however, though, Primo had 22 minutes, Lonnie had 11 minutes.
So
in both showcases, Lonnie goes 0 for 3 in those 12-minute stretches, and obviously at that point they just don't play him for the rest of the game.
Yeah, so I know like everybody always asks for like, Pop, just play the guy the hot hand, like, Pop, stop trying to force like lineups where it's like this guy's not getting it done. But like it's kind of disappointing. I've always been like one of the bigger supporters of Lonnie and like the advocates of like giving him time and rest. But like before this Pelicans game, it had been like a good stretch of him without having too much production out there or a noticeable impact. Now this Pelicans game, he was out there flying and he was running and just catching alley oops, doing stuff like that. So like that's kind of the thing we've always known and talked about, like the consistency, his like the mental part of it is like being confident and going out there and doing what you know you can do. But I think Josh Richardson is more of a replacement for Lonnie than he would be for Derrick. I know Derrick was the 2 in the starting lineup, but Devin fits that role. I think even like more of a complimentary player than Derrick did. And I know like Josh Richardson can be like a 2 off ball. But like I see like Josh Richardson like as if he's a 3-and-D guy, like play defense, shoot the 3 ball because unfortunately Lonnie's been struggling from 3 all year. What do you guys think? Like is that more of like a piece like he's replacing that because you have Primo and even Zach Collins, you could like run offense through him on the bench unit.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I feel like in 2 ways, like the White trade, or I guess just the fact that Lonnie Walker is still on our team post trade deadline, right? So it could either embolden you and empower you of like you're here now, at least for the rest of this year. That gives you a little bit more of a sense of, whatever, where you're not having to think about, if I don't play well, I could not be here and I have to restart the whole other thing. So there's a little bit more stability on that side, but then there is the little bit of like, we just got a couple more guys that are on the depth chart now that play similar styles to you. And if we can find production, maybe we might go in that direction. So I don't know. I mean,
Romeo
if
Langford is listed as a shooting guard too, and if he's got like that size, and
if I have those guys, both of those guys are on the books for next year, right?
Yes,
if I have both of those guys on the books for next year, I think I spend the last half of the season or whatever, third of the season, getting them acclimated and still having Lonnie Walker as the number 1 on the depth chart between like those 3, because he's earned it. He's been with us and all this. And also it's like, well, this is the last window we're going to get for Lonnie to see, you know what I mean? Cause let's just, so that's how I would play it. Play him as the number 1 guy. And then, yeah, there are games where it's like, you're not shooting well tonight. We need somebody to help us get to this win. I'm putting this guy in, and I think you, if I was a coaching staff, I'm balancing all 3 of those with Lonnie as the number 1.
Yeah. I can get that with Romeo Langford. Josh Richardson, I'm a little more hesitant on that. Like, he is a solid role player. He's a contributing guy. He's not, maybe not like your high end role player, but he's been having a good season. He's been having like a very solid enough season that's like, I feel like it's kind of a disservice if we're not playing him, if we are just giving him DNPs like that. I feel like that's a point where it's like, all right, come on now. We should be playing a guy like Josh Richardson because he is good. He's that good.
but see,
Personally,
like you said, like he's good, and what is he averaging this year? 9 points, like 9 points a game, and he plays defense.
Because he's just contributing.
But what is Lonnie like? What is Lonnie averaging? Like that's kind of been my whole problem with like people's criticisms of Lonnie is like they want him to be an all-star. They want him to be 20 points per game. But for Josh Richardson, this is a good year. He plays, he
9 points on 40% 3. Yeah, on 40% from 3.
And I get it. If Lonnie was shooting the 3 ball, it'd be easier to back up that argument of like he's doing his role, he's doing his job. And I've argued like you don't have to re-sign him at that Derrick White 15. Dejounte 16 million a year. Like he could be Josh Richardson makes 10 mil, 11 mil a year. Like, and if Lonnie's not that good and you sign him for less money than that, like that's his role.
Yeah.
He's
now actually Josh Richardson, I love that you brought that up about his money is like we had been again, like if you look at our books, we've been comparing what Derrick and DJ and it's in that 15 plus range, and knowing that Lonnie's not going to get to that range, but we've been putting his number like just a little bit below. But now with a guy like Richardson, you can kind of, from a numbers point of view, you can give a value that's a little bit closer around there. And if he plays up to Richardson, well, now you're making around 10. If you play below it, if we're finding games where we're doing what Jake said, and let's put Richardson in there because you're not getting it done. Well, now, hey, we do want to sign you. We know what you can bring to us. We know that you've been with us, so that provides a lot of corporate knowledge, so to speak. Well, let's sign you for 3 years, $20 million. You'll make $7 million a year, 6.5 a year, and be happy with that. Or you can try to go and get it somewhere else. I'm with you guys. And I'm not against like what Jake said too. Like I want to see those guys play. I want to see what they bring too. And they probably did bring things from their old team. So
I think I think if there's one thing that I'm coming out of the trade deadline, it's like the 5 guys that are starting, their minutes should be protected. Devin moving from starting to bench, like either or. Like let's just say that like we play against Chicago, Josh Richardson like goes off like 6 for 6 from 3 in his first outing. Like I'm not telling you that's exactly what's gonna happen. Let's just say that happens, right? Then they're like, all right, well maybe we want to start Josh Richardson over Devin. Whatever, right? Like I'm not saying that I'd agree with that, but if that's like the case, I think Devin at the 2 is the only thing that's like can be switchable. That's the only thing that can be switchable. But I think all 5 of those players, their minutes should be secure, like with whatever. They should all be getting 25 plus every night in that aspect, right?
yeah.
But the bench unit, I feel like can get changed around. We can like I wouldn't want to see Thomas Satoransky take minutes over Trey Jones, but let's just say Thomas Satoransky outplays Trey Jones later this year. Then we want to play him at the bench, Like you said, we're still a team that's kind of fighting for that play-in, and I feel like the guys like Thomas Satoransky and Josh Richardson, they're gonna have to light a fire under a guy like Trey Jones, under Lonnie Walker, even somewhat Josh Primo. Like if because I wouldn't say that his minutes would be guaranteed for us. Let's just say he plays in a slump and we want to win games. We're gonna put in the better guys,
Yeah.
I would like to see Josh Primo get minutes because I want to see development. But if we're trying to win games, I think that those 2 guys being here in Thomas Satoransky and Josh Richardson, that should light fires in the bench players to, push it, to be better, to play better, because you want to lose the role. You lose the role that you have right now,
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you on Lonnie Walker, Trey Jones, and Josh Primo are like the 3 minutes that will have to be fluctuating depending on how well or how much we want to see these new guys. It would be like those 3 guys. And then to a lesser extent, I guess like a guy like Kaycock, but really he's there. Like he played 9 minutes last night. Yeah, he played 9 minutes last night, and obviously that's no Zach Collins and more. So no Zach Collins kind of just equals a little bit more Jock Landale, a little bit more Kaycock, I guess at that point.
Did Keita Bates-Diop play?
No, he
Did
was out.
Keita? Yeah, he was out too.
Was out.
Yeah, so Kaycock is more linked to the bigs at that point.
Yeah.
But a similar situation though. But let's I'll drop that. Okay, so I think we've kind of talked about how things can be shifting and moving for the next couple of weeks as we gear towards the last push. But we as up and down and mostly down it feels at times as our season has been, we have never been out of reach of the play-in game. It mathematically speaking, it's never been that way. And I know it might have felt that way, and people talk about it like we're on this path to a top 3 or a top 4 or whatever the heck, but we've never been out of reach of the play-in game. So after our winning 2 games in a row, we started to hear more of our players kind of talk about it in that regard. Devin Vassell gives you the comment saying we're pushing for playoffs. Dejounte Murray, we're looking for the play-ins. We're looking for the playoffs. I loved his comments. First of all, he said, I think Spurs basketball is playing in the playoffs. And as soon as he said that, I was like, hell yeah, Dejounte. Just wanted to kind of bring it back up. It doesn't have to be a large discussion, especially because I kind of feel like we're all on the same side, which is, which side of the tank fence are you on? I wrote, sometimes I'll just write things on Twitter, and I know everybody's like this. You write it, you read it, and then you just delete it. You don't actually put it out there, right? So somebody was talking about, their position on organically tanking and how looking forward to the positives of getting higher picks and all that is still rooting for winning and rooting for success, even though it's long-term success versus short-term and this and that, right? But my whole thing, and I did tweet out something in the same vein, which is at the end of the day, the players still have to do the thing. They still have to put their shoes on and go play the game, So at that point, when it comes down to it, you're in center court, the ball goes up, it gets tipped. Are you rooting for our guys to win, or are you rooting for them to lose? And so it's like you can talk and rationalize yourself about long-term versus short-term, but do you want to see our guys win the game or not? You know what I mean? So That's the line in the sand that I draw. You guys don't have to live by that rule, but like, just in terms of where we are right now, would you rather see us look ahead, push for the future, and we want to try to get as high of a pick as we want? Do you live on the side of, well, I'm trying to win every single game, or I don't know, or are you trying to play both sides? And I want to win games, but I also want to get a big pick and blah blah blah. So like, I don't know, Jake, where are you at?
I mean, you play to win ball games. I feel like all four of us, I know Josh isn't here, but I feel like all four of us do have that mindset. You play to win ball games. You don't play to lose. You never
The quote is, "You play to win the game." That's
Yes,
the
sir.
quote.
play to win the game, right? All right then. There it is, So that's like I don't think there really should be anything else other than just to say that that's what you do. So I'm not telling you we should lose. I'm not telling you like there's no reason for me to say, "Oh man, I can't wait to see DJ put up a stinker tonight so that we lose a ball game." Like no. I know like there are times where like I might make my jokes where like, oh well, if the record goes my way, then I get an extra point this week, But that's never been my mindset of actually as a fan to say like I want the Spurs to lose. It's like as an objective standpoint, this is where I see us going. So I want us to win every single ball game that we play, but objectively, we're not going to win every single ball game that we play. So I go with that mindset. I go with the mindset that I look at every game ahead of us. I'm like, okay, we're going to play against this team. We could win this game. We're going to play against this team. I don't know if we're going to win this game, but I want us to win. I want us to win
My
every
my
game.
my thing is like in the thick of it, because that's a little bit more of like on a game to game basis. This is how I view the game. But while the game is actually playing, are you thinking? Because like this is me, and I'll give an example. We were playing Golden State not that long ago. I can't remember when it was, but it wasn't. I don't think it was that long ago.
When we blew the lead.
Yeah, okay, so February 1st. Yeah. So it's like second quarter. I don't think Draymond Green is playing this game. He was sitting out.
Mm-hmm.
And
all
Draymond
all five of like Steph, Clay, Draymond, and Jimmy
yes,
Green, Otto Porter.
yes, which was the big, yeah, exactly, right. So that game. So Draymond Green tweets right before halftime. He says, like, cut it to 9 by half or something like that, right? And I read that tweet, and literally, like, that's stuff that I tweet all the time, like, and you can tell what his mindset is, and his mindset is, I'm just looking. I'm looking for the path to victory as we make our way through these 48 minutes. Okay, we're not winning right now. Cut it to this. Cut it to this. Just do that little bit. Then now we move to the next thing. Okay, good. You cut it to 9. Good. All right, let's play some good defense. Let's see. And that mindset is if we do this and then we do this and then we do this and we do this, it will end up being successful, right? So you look at the game objectively as you can, but when the game is on, you're looking to see what can we do to make winning plays. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right, so
I am. I'm not. There's no like nothing that makes me be like, man, I really hope Dejounte misses this pass.
yeah, right.
Like, why would I ever think like that? Why would I ever be like, I hope Devin misses 5 of his next 6 shots? Like, there's no reason to be like, I hope my team loses, especially in the moment.
Yeah. Juan, you got anything to add?
Yeah, so I've said it on the podcast before, like somewhere along the lines of like we organically are losing games. We're trying like to win. We're going out there and we're just coming up short. That's not like we're not putting the best, like the worst players out there to lose and tanking. Um, Now I don't know if I like agree with like that tweet you're talking about, like the way it was saying like I want to lose games. Like you want to lose games now so you could have a better future. Because I am 100% the same way. In the like, I'm watching every game with like live or die. I'm like devastated when we lose games. We lose 4 games in a row, and I'm like, my week is terrible. Like I'm just having like such a bad week. It affects me so much. I want to win every game. I never want to lose just to lose. I don't. I don't understand how you could do that in the moment or supporting the team or watching the game. And like Jake said, like I don't like see like oh my god, like we need to hit this. Like we had 5 seconds on the clock, we're down 1. We need to hit this bucket, and then if we miss, it's like, well, we lost. That's fine. Like I'm like, I'm losing it. You know what I mean? Or if a team hits a buzzer beater against us, like I'm so frustrated, and like I get it. Like the idea of like tanking and getting like a top pick is going to be better. Like okay, of course. Like if we add a number one pick to our team next year, we're like, oh sweet, like that's awesome. But once it comes down to the lottery, then I'll be like, please get down, like get our pick to number one, or
Mhm.
please like do that. But in the moment, I'm watching the games. I'm in the moment that I am watching the games. I want to win. I'm not. That's why I was upset with the Derrick White trade because I thought we were gonna like blow it up, just trade everybody, and it was just gonna be
Yeah.
Dejounte, Primo, and Devin the rest of the year, and they weren't gonna have any help.
It
And
it made the idea of losing Jakob for a first round way more. You're like, shoot, are they gonna actually do this? Yeah, it was
yeah,
nuts.
and so I thought they were gonna take all of Dejounte's help. We were gonna lose games because we weren't gonna have any quality players out there anymore. And I don't know. In the moment, I'm like, no, but at the same time, I like. So I've told Jake this before with the Cowboys last year when Dak broke his leg in half. We could have just bottomed out. I was still going out there and watching every game with Andy Dalton and even like Ben DiNucci going like, let's win this ball game. The same way you're saying, Chris, like I like there was like a like get a stop here and hopefully Ben doesn't turn the ball over and we can go down there and we can win this game. You know, I'm doing that in the moment and we end up winning like 6 or 7 games and we end up with like the 11 pick instead of having a top 5 pick. And it's like when it comes to the draft, it's like, well, shoot, maybe we should have just freaking, you know, not. So we could have had a chance. We ended up getting Michael Parsons, blah blah blah. Like that worked out for us then. But then like that's what hit me. It's like, oh well, it worked out for us anyways. We competed. We tried to win as many games as we could. Oh, and guess what? We still drafted a guy that changed our team the next year.
Yeah.
So then like that immediately like flips me. So I've been messing around with this draft lottery, the sim thing. I forgot the name. Do you know the name, Jake?
I couldn't tell you the name right off the back of
Uh,
my head, but
but I've been messing with this. And like as of like yesterday morning, we were like the seventh or eighth worst team, this Tinkathon, right? And I know a lot of NBA fans like mess with that or whatever. Um,
Yeah, I just googled draft board simulator and I came up with fanspo.com, and then tankathon.com, and then another one, basketball.realgm.com.
yeah, so I've been using this Tinkathon one, right? And it shows like we're the seventh worst record in the league right now. Detroit's number one. Then the top three or the three worst teams, they only have a 14% chance of getting the number one overall pick. And all the way at 7, we have a 7.5% chance. I had like done the simulation like 3 or 4 times, and we had gotten the number 2 pick once and the first overall pick once, and it was like in 5 tries, and we moved up into the top 3. It says we have a 32% chance of a top 4 pick with where we are now. So that's just right. Like right now at 7, I think we should keep playing and competing and trying to win as many games as we can. And we're doing what if we keep playing at whatever pace we're doing, we're gonna have a losing record. We're gonna lose more games than we win. You're not trying to lose. You destroy your culture. You destroy your players' mindsets when you do that. I was telling Victoria, my girlfriend, this. We were watching the game last night. I was like, when you go out there and you try to lose, now your players they don't build like that grit and that like winning mindset or like
Hmm.
that
They
that
they
fi-
build the opposite because they will.
yeah.
Your brain and your body will build something.
Yeah, and I told her it's like when it's a close game and you're like you're not good enough, you're trying to find a way to win the game, and like there's just that's why they call it that. There's a quality like, oh man, that guy just wins games or that guy makes winning plays. That's what happens. You're not good enough yet, but you're developing that mindset, that tenacity to go out there and try, even though you're not as talented as the guys across from you. And when you go out there and say, "Oh, guys, actually, it's the fourth quarter, we're up 5. We actually need to lose this game," or like you bench your guy, you intentionally like leave a guy on the bench so he doesn't make winning plays. Like like you're destroying your culture. You're not setting yourself up. So then in a couple years when you make the playoffs, now you're like, what the heck are we doing? Like, what are we supposed to do right now? How
Yeah.
are we gonna make these plays? And it's I don't know. I 100% want to win. I just internally think we're not there yet. We're gonna lose games where it's like, man, we should have won that game, but it's growing pains like losses, and we're gonna naturally like fall short. But
Yeah.
I'm not advocating for us to go out there and play Saturansky and Langford and Richardson just because we traded for them and like start them and they're gonna play 20 minutes and then we're kind of just throwing in the towel for this season. I
Yeah.
love the mindset of Dejounte and Devin and the guys that like they want to win these games, they want to make the playoffs, and I'm all for it. I just realistically think we're gonna fall short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, most of us kind of feel that same way in terms of where we think we're realistically going to end up, or where like our realistic ceiling is. But I'm with you guys. I'm a little bit more on the other fence though, in the sense that like I don't care where our draft spot ends up. You know what I mean? Like you worry, in my opinion, like the front office people, they make those decisions obviously, and they don't, it behooves them to be proactive about those things, and they have to think about those things well in advance before the draft comes. Like I get that. But like from the player's point of view, and I'm with DJ on this, it's like I'm not playing to play the ping pong balls at all. Like that's not in my consideration at all. So and I'm kind of like that too. It's like I would much rather add what we can add with whatever draft position we have, with a team that feels like we're trying to get better every single day, a team that feels we're trying to build character every single day, versus anything else like that. It's like part of the reason that I made this decision when I was like 13 years old. It's like I can't play when I started to find out what fantasy football was. I like fantasy football. And the reason I like fantasy football so much is because I'm not that invested in NFL. Like I can go and have a game, or I can go and approach the NFL fantasy with the idea of I want this guy to do well. And if their team loses, it doesn't really hurt me that much. And as soon as I started to put like Cowboys players and Jaguars players on my team, and then I was like, do I want them to not win this game because I have the defense of the other team? I was like, oh my God, I could never do this in the NBA. I could never start the Rockets defense, or I don't even know if that's how it works in fantasy basketball, but like I could never actively be like, I want DeJounte to have a good game, but I want this team to beat us. Like I couldn't do it. I could never do it like that. And I know that people can, and some people can kind of compartmentalize their teams that way and all that. That's just not how I choose to kind of see it. And I guess, at the end of the whole thing, it's like, it's not to judge anybody who sees the game that way, because maybe they enjoy basketball and NBA from a little bit more of a GM perspective, and they like to see the moving pieces and they like to see those kind of things. And my point of view, it's mainly from the sport of it all, from the basketball game part of it all. You know what I mean? And it's like at its essence, your goal is to score more points than the other team, and that drives the heck out of me to watch our guys and the way that they play basketball and see, can our way beat your way? Like that is at the root of like where all my support comes from. So like I could never, I could never root for a loss in any respect. And I'm not a player, but that's just how I see it. It's like, that's not my job. That's y'all's job to worry about that. My job is to worry about winning this game, even though I don't play in it, so.
And Juan, this might hopefully I'll see what I want to hear what you kind of have to say about it after this. Hopefully this kind of like changes your little view over it, right? But you're talking about like, I don't want to see our guys lose. I want to see us, win. I don't really want to worry about the ping pong balls, all that kind of stuff. Like that's all like very good, very true. I agree with you. And so then we finished the year doing that. But now we made that Derrick White trade, right? We made the Derrick White trade. We made the Thad Young trade. And we have those extra assets there's more flexibility with where our pick falls, because we can still kind of work our way into negotiations to get the pick that we want at the end of the day.
Exactly. And that's a way. And as much as the Derrick White trade hurts, that's the part of the GM side that I can definitely appreciate, right? It's like we're not losing games to get better ping pong balls. We're finding ways outside of the basketball game to get better draft odds. You know what I mean? I am 1,000,000% for a front office getting better through the draft and through working those sides of the things outside of the 48 minutes of basketball. You know what I'm saying? I'm 100% against the idea of not putting your best foot forward to win the game that night, because of draft, because of the outside stuff. When you start playing the game, there's only one thing, and that's trying to win the game. Like that's where I'm laying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I understand that. That's why, like, yeah, like you could end up, outside of the top 10, and you'll have 3 picks in like, in the next 10 picks, and then you could use that to trade up and do something. And there's been plenty of quality players selected late lottery, that like end, and you don't have to be the top pick to get the guy, because I mean, look at Zion, he doesn't even play for them. There's been plenty of busts like that. If you look
Then
at
you look at Ja right after that, and
yeah,
he's
but like, yeah, so like, yeah, you're gonna have the top talent there at the top of the draft, but then there's guys like Steph, he goes 9. Klay Thompson was like 11. Paul George was 10. Like players like that. And then at the same time, I love Doug. I'm a big Doug fan. You go your whole year, you're trying to lose games, and then you end up like you pick in the lottery, you have the 11th pick, and it's Doug McDermott, and it doesn't work out for you, and you have to move on for him. You know what I mean? That's another reason why I was mad about the Derrick White trade, because it's like, okay, we're gonna get a pick, and how many fans complain about Lonnie? He was what, the 18th pick? Like, what if that pick ends up being the 18th pick, and then we select a guy, and now 4 years from now, people are like, get rid of this guy. He didn't develop the right way, or like, oh, front office, blah blah blah, and it's like you rely too much on these rookies and these like.
Yeah,
the
we could have had 2 first-round picks and have 4 years of Derrick White to bring them along. And not to say you have to keep Derrick for all 4, but now you put the decision on Derrick White 2 years down the road, and a $17 million contract is either still looking good and tradable, or it's looking like one of those trades where people know like he's not really as good, but economically we're going to help you out and blah blah blah. But we could have had a little bit of both at that point.
And I'll go do another Dallas Cowboys like example. I was really young when we drafted Morris Claiborne, and like he was like the 5th overall pick, and we were like so bad the whole year. You get the top 5 pick, you draft a guy, and then he's just always hurt and like a bust, and it's like, well, shoot, like what the heck did we do that year? And like we just were like bad all year, and all it did was give us this guy, and
yeah.
blah, blah. And then I get there's the flip side. You can get like a franchise changing guy. I know Tim Duncan was like a little bit of like pink like lottery odds that we ended up getting, and I'm okay with us competing and like sitting wherever we're at, and I trust the front office to find people. I know Primo surprised me this last year. I had never heard his name before they announced it on draft night, and now I have a jersey of his, and it's like I believe and I trust that he's going to be a great player for us. I don't need us to fall into the top 5. Obviously, if that happened, if we were to get a top 3 pick, a top 4 pick, that'd be crazy. Then like everything starts changing. We have cap space, we have other assets, we could do crazy things. But I want us to win every game. I want us to compete for the playoffs, to compete for that plan. And I believe like we're so hit or miss with our team this year. We can compete against great teams like at the top of the league. If we make the plan, if we make something happen, who knows what we do? We've competed against Phoenix all year. Like what, I get excited about that. Yeah, okay, you can say like I'm unrealistically optimistic, but like I'll 100% take a series against Phoenix this year than miss the playoffs. You know what I mean? Even if we just lose right away.
yeah.
Same for
No,
sure. Go ahead, Jake.
I get that. I get that. Like, I mean, I definitely, to me, sorry, excuse me. To me, it's like, yeah, like I would like to see us in the playoffs, play against a team like Phoenix, play against Golden State. But at the same time, to me, it's like
I knew he was gonna say, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's just like the outcome is like, what are you gonna get cooked by Chris Paul? Are you gonna get cooked by Steph Curry? Like, what
But it's that growth for
It's the
Dejounte,
experience.
Keldon.
Yeah.
I mean, look what the Olympics did for Keldon, and like he comes straight to the season, and it's like, oh my god, like he's on another level. Like,
Yeah,
it's
we need it. We need that.
Yeah,
Imagine if Kawhi Leonard's injury. Let's say he stays injured, right? Or like he's continued to deal with injuries from the moment he left San Antonio through now, right? Let's say he still has all those injuries, so he's in and out a lot, but he stays in San Antonio, right? You get a guy like Dejounte Murray who's on the team for the future and everything like that. Let's say we go through those 17, 18, 19 where we're losing to Golden State, where we're losing and like those are the character building moments, you know what I mean? And obviously a guy like Dejounte is going to build that character anyway, and
And I would argue,
all the losses hardened him anyway. But
that's why I
imagine
said
if we could do both.
I would argue
ahead.
that's why he does have another level against all the other guys because he was there for those last Kawhi years. He was in those playoffs. He saw it firsthand, like all the those series, and then he saw like DeMar show up. He saw Kawhi just run out of town and everything like that. He's been through it all. He's seen it. He's gone through all that adversity, and it kind of shows already. People forget that he was a part of those teams. He was a little baby. He never played that much, but he started that game when Tony Parker blew his quad. I think he started that game against Houston.
Yeah.
The next game, and so it's like Dejounte's been here and he's seen the playoffs, and that's why he talks about. That's why I 100% agree with you, Chris. It's like he knows what it's about. He's seen those competing like against division rivals in the playoffs, against Golden State behemoth, supposedly.
Yeah.
We were gonna take those guys down. He was gonna be part of that team, and
yeah, exactly. Like I would much rather see I would much rather see Josh Primo leaving the court disappointed as shit because we lost in 5 games to a 1 seed, and feel what that feels like to see now the stakes are up and this is what it's about. Like that's literally all the losses that you take over the course of the past 3 or 4 years. That's what they're for, is so you can get to those moments. You know what I mean? So go ahead.
As opposed to that barely happening 2 years from now, and then or say we win 40, 50 games, and we're like finding the playoffs, and we're like the 3rd or 4th seed, 5th seed, and then we just lose in the first round because our guys have never been there before.
Yeah. Or just the idea of it's the last week of the season. You could, depending on how well you play this week, you could be in the play-in or you could be out of the playoffs. And where does your desire go? You know what I mean? It's like, I want our guys to feel the urge to go forward like that. You know what I mean? And I would never doubt the players. I mean, like they have no other choice. They have to play the game. So, and yeah, there might be some people who are more motivated by like the NBA salary or something like that. We've heard it before from, older NBA players say like, yeah, these guys, they want their paycheck. They're down with that part of it. The drive to win is not as strong.
That brings up a great point because I just watched it earlier this week, and I don't know if you guys ever watch any of the podcasts or anything throughout the sports world or whatever, but JJ Redick has his podcast called The Old Man and the Three. Very, very good podcast because he gets his guests from throughout the NBA, and it was like either this last week or a couple weeks ago that he had Draymond Green on it, and Draymond he straight up pretty much just called out all of the young guys in the league, just saying that most of these guys really don't care as much as everybody else does, as much as the vets do. It was one of those things where he pretty much was just saying there's a lot of players that he'll talk to and a lot of people that him and even JJ saying that when they walk into a gym and see these guys play for 5 minutes or 10 minutes in the gym in a practice facility, they know whether or not that guy is competing, if he's competitive, if he's ready to play games to win, or if he's just there to get his paycheck, if he's just there because he knows he's just playing the ball. I mean, I to me, I feel like that's always I had always talked about how the culture of places has been the biggest thing, why why a team like Miami makes it to the finals in the bubble, because they had the culture, because they had the right guys that had the right attitudes to win the games, and it's just something that I saw it earlier this week. I really wanted to bring it up, and you talked about it, so I just wanted to kind of shout out that podcast, that whole little snippet of Draymond just talking about how it is like that,
Yeah, sure, and I mean, and also when it comes down to it, some people who are down with making the salary and this and that, that's not to say that they're bad players. They're NBA level talent players, and some people can probably even win championships with those kind of players who are just good enough to do it, even though the drive to win isn't the strongest thing on their list. So, not to say that you can't win that way, but I would want to fill the Spurs up with players who want to win the game. You know what I'm saying? And in that regard, that's when it tying back to our original topic of discussion, which is just if you're gonna have those guys don't want to lose. And if you fill your team with those guys, then tanking you just have to remove that from the picture. And I would want our team, the Spurs, to have that mindset. Because we don't have the luxury to take things for granted in San Antonio. Like it's just not. You know what I'm saying? It's just not how it goes. So well, all right. I think that was a good talk. I think we're all kind of on the same side of the fence when it comes to it. And again, no judgment on anybody who kind of thinks and kind of sees basketball that way. Everybody can like the sport in a different way, and that's how it goes. But on this side, we're trying to win. So, speaking of winning, we got or the pursuit of victory. We got 4 games to continue our rodeo road trip. This is the second week of the rodeo road trip, and I believe this is. Give me 1 second. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we technically have 5 more games before we hit the All-Star break, but we do have 4 games this week. So almost at the All-Star break, but we will have that one game. That I guess we'll talk about next week. Jake, you want to say something?
I think you have it a little off, Chris, because I'm pretty sure we only play against Chicago. Yeah, only Chicago and OKC, and then we have the All-Star break before going to Washington, Miami next week.
Oh, you're correct. I looked at the February to March break after Grizzlies. You are correct. Okay, so so then we have 3 games on the slate.
After we have 2 games this week. 2 games this week against Chicago and OKC, and then next week we'll wait all the way until we play against Washington and Miami.
I'm way off.
Before,
Yeah, you're right.
Finally finishing it off, playing against Memphis to end February.
Yep. You are correct.
We do have 3 games because Dejounte's gonna be in that All-Star game.
We do have 3 games because Dejounte will be in that All-Star game.
Exactly. So starting off tomorrow 7 p.m. we got Chicago. We've already seen DeMar come back to come to San Antonio. We'll be back over there. And then we got OKC Wednesday the 16th. So same thing. We can start anywhere we want, but I mean, really, it's just what we know we're gonna get. I think the plan is to get Langford and Richardson and Satoransky also, all 3.
Satoransky's already with us because he was in New Orleans.
Okay.
He was in New Orleans, so we just met with him in New Orleans. He was out for that night. And then the Chicago game will be the game that we'll have Romeo Langford and Josh Richardson come in.
So the goal was for them to meet us in Chicago, I think is what they had said. So we'll be having some more options in terms of our players. We're coming off of a good 2-game win streak at this point, I guess, if you can call it that. Which I think we haven't really had. I think the last one was way back when, right? Like it's been a long time since we even won 2 in a row. So what are you guys looking to see? What are you hoping for as we approach this All-Star break? Jake, let's go with you first.
I'm hoping that we see a little bit of Josh Richardson PT in both Chicago and OKC. It's definitely one thing that our guys are coming off of the back-to-back. They're going to be a little gassed. Traveling, rodeo road trip, all this kind of stuff. It's going to take a number on them. So having a guy like Josh Richardson and Thomas Satoransky to hopefully get a little bit of PT to help our guys out just a little bit, I think that'll be beneficial for everybody. As we'll kind of get to see. I feel like we should start to see those guys and test it out. Juan was saying like don't play those guys to like lose games, and I completely agree like that. But like in a sense, if Thomas Satoransky is outplaying Trey Jones, play Thomas Satoransky. If Josh Richardson's outplaying Lonnie Walker and Josh Primo, play Josh Richardson.
And it starts with you are going to have to sacrifice some of those guys' minutes just to see what the other guys are like and give them time. Yeah,
exactly. So I would like to see just a little sample size of what we can get from both of those guys coming into this week. That's my personal preference. I want to see those guys get a little bit of PT, more Josh Richardson than Thomas Satoransky, but either or, I mean, other than that, I just want to keep seeing Devin Vassell take 15 shots a game. That's about it.
Yeah. Juan, what are you looking for?
I just want to continue to see, Dejounte, Keldon, and Devin. That right now is like what's shaping up to be like a little bit of a big three type of effort out there, especially like now that Devin's starting. You see all three of them together. That's kind of just why I want to see just more of them playing together and like the I guess the chemistry building between those three like that, because that could be like a starting three for a long time. And I'd actually like had always of like, man, Primo is gonna be our starting two eventually. Primo's gonna be our starting two, but like I think just starting Devin at the two with Keldon at the three, and then if you add a sizable four in the future, like that's ideal. Um, so and then like Devin and Keldon shooting is like it makes it all that. So that idea is like what I'm looking for. Obviously, I want us to go out there and win and compete. Which I think we can take care of business against OKC easily. So the Chicago game should be fun. Like I think the guys like going at DeMar. I agree with Jake. I want to see Josh Richardson play, and I want to see Romeo Langford play because they're both younger. But I personally don't want to see Satoransky play at all, ever. I'd rather just let Trey and Primo and all those guys get their minutes because they're going to be on the team. Satoransky, I think, is expiring, so it's the
Yeah,
same
he
thing.
is.
Like
He is.
it's the same thing with like Thaddeus Young. I'm not to say like put the worst player out there so you could lose games, but isn't like let them go out there and compete and grow and see things
And
as
develop.
opposed to hindering them or taking away time to develop behind a guy um, who's probably not going to be with us going forward. But I'm excited to see Josh Richardson and Langford at least get some type of minutes just to like kind of see them out in silver and black. I want to see Josh Richardson's what he can add like 3-point wise because I think his spacing will help off that bench unit because it's just like Trey and Primo, or it's just Primo right now with like Zach Collins who can space a little bit, but like what other type of shooting and offense can we get off the bench?
Yeah,
Yeah, especially
exactly.
if Trey's just a not shooter, 3-point shooter, and then Lonnie's shooting
Struggling,
bad.
yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's
So
definitely hard to see
in
the
that
spacing.
regard, it probably maybe we can find a nice little fit with Trey Jones at the one, Josh Primo at the two, and then Langford slides into that wing position, and he's our shooter for that second unit or whatever.
Langford or Richardson, either or, right?
Yeah. Either for. I just know that I think Langford is he bigger? Is he taller? Is he
I think if I'm not mistaken, they're both like in the
That's another
same
thing.
height.
I just want to see how big and how
yeah,
they fit
Yeah.
with the team.
exactly right.
Um,
Just try to get used to them.
but yeah, like so that was another thing. We obviously we're gonna keep like kind of going back to the trade just to like keep in that sense, right? It's always just gonna be apparent, right? But that was another thing that like I thought about whenever it came to trading for Josh Richardson. Like we talked about it. Derrick White's always gonna fit everywhere he goes. There's no way that Derrick White would not fit with us. But that's not to say that there are not players that could fit better. It's not to say that like we didn't put Derrick in the best position. I personally like we've talked about that. If Derrick was the bench point guard, then it's not nearly as apparent. But with Derrick not on the team anymore, it fills positions for guys to just be spot up shooters. Not guys to take the ball away from Dejounte, not guys to take touches away from KJ. Like
Yeah, but
it's like
that's why we had been arguing like Derek could have been the point guard off the bench, and Devin's more of like an off ball scorer
yeah,
too.
of course. Of course, and I mean like it's a shame that we just weren't able that like San Antonio didn't try that at all, because it most definitely would have worked out. I feel like it would have worked out, but the matter of the fact is that we traded Derrick, we got that first round pick, but now we also got a guy who's going to be able to fit with the rest of the roster, like this. So that's something that does come out of it. Like we could become a little bit of a better ball club just because we have a guy who's will be able to just be a spot up shooter. And we're not necessarily losing, like obviously Derek being one of the best perimeter guards in the defensively in the league, but Josh Richardson isn't no slacker. He's a good defender too. So you're not losing a lot. You're not
He'll,
losing
ne-
a lot of defense.
he'll never be Derek White.
He'll never be Derek White, of course not. But he's definitely not bad. He's definitely not bad. So
Now
there's some
I
upside to
agree
seeing
because
Josh like that.
now like Primo and Lonnie have to handle the ball like off the bench, and now Dejounte can have free reigns, and you're not afraid of Devin or Keldon. I know they turn the ball over here or there, but it's like they're growing in that aspect. So I agree. We're like, yeah, you take away a guy who needs the ball in his hands, and it opens it up for those other guys, and now it's not as cluttered in that sense. I can see how that helps fit the team. And Josh Richardson being like a 3 and D, he doesn't need the ball in his hands. Um, helps the team a little bit more like yeah, like cohesively, cohesiveness and stuff like that.
Yeah, or just have a little bit more of a balanced attack, so to speak. You know what I mean? So I mean, again, just trying to find as many, and there are going to be positives that come out of the Derrick White trade. You know what I mean? It's just they have to be revealed to us as time goes on. Uh, um, I agree with you guys in terms of just like what do I want to see? Let's get these new guys in. I want to make sure that Zach Collins is continuing to kind of get into rhythm and feel more comfortable. Really love the few times that he was able to like hit a mid-range jumper to kind of alleviate some of that pressure. So I think that him continuing to find where his spots are going to be is going to be great.
I'd like to see him get up to like 25, 30 minutes a game. I think you could kind of chip away from Doug if everybody else is hitting threes. You can chip away some time from Doug's like spot at the 4.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe get some minutes where they're overlapping with Jakob and Zach on the court at the same time.
For sure. I'm not sure how much of that we'll see like this year because I mean at this point he's not even playing in back-to-backs. So it'll take a while before, but yeah, no, I agree. I would like to see more things from him as time goes on, and I'm sure they have a timetable of how they're rolling out Zach Collins and all that kind of stuff.
I love his game. His game is perfect for us and the things we want to do. And he's impressed me.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and now that we see Zach Collins, it shifts your focus of like, okay, Jock Landale, when you're out there, we need you to be like half Drew Eubanks and the other half Zach Collins. We need you to be more like that too. You know what I mean? So it kind of gives us a formula of like what we want that backup big to be.
Yeah, and I think the most surprising thing for me is seeing his passing ability, seeing how much he was able to just like stand at the top of the three and just find all those little looks here and there that I don't think he's as good as Yak yet. Yak is just because Yak's been in the system for so long, he gets it.
Yak's head and shoulders the best big on our team. Like,
well, I'm talking about passing in terms of like the passing.
Right?
I
see.
I think Zach is better. The passes that Zach has made out of the post to cutters,
but
that aren't like over the top. They're like sneaking like through the defense, and it's like it's like, man, this guy. I did not know that he was a passer like that.
Sometimes it looks like he's like straight up like looking for that pass, like they're like, and then teams just like know it. So then
telegraph it a little bit. But that's more familiarity with who you're passing it to. I mean, well, I can't really speak. Maybe Zach Collins just telegraphs his passes a lot. Not sure yet. But as of right now, that those things are going to get smoothed out, and the communication, you need less and less communication to execute those kind of things. You know what I mean? Right now, you're worried about like, can he actually make the pass? You know what I mean? So if he can make it work, then that's gonna be a bonus for us.
For sure.
But yeah, not honestly, like not too much. We're kind of in a wind down, because we have the All-Star break coming up. So we got 2 games. I want us just to have good focus. We don't really have the option to feel not focused, right? It's it's been odd for me, like to kind of think about. We've been a very successful team for a really long time, and knowing we were going to be playing playoff basketball at least into like the second round. Most of the time, like any first round Spurs exit has been a surprise. I don't think there's ever been one that I've seen that's been not a surprise, right? So when in that mindset, you kind of think about All-Star break almost like the halfway point of the season, right? Because now you have the last bit of the regular and then it bleeds into playoffs. But now that we've been out of the playoffs for a couple of years, it feels different. It feels like All-Star break. It really does feel like we're at like that 3/4 of the way mark, and the games that we have afterwards, like it feels like we don't have any time at all. In my opinion, like that's just how it feels to me. But it's catching me off guard. I think mainly from that point of view of like, I think my brain used to think, well, the basketball season for us is going to go all the way into at least like April into or March into April, and let's hope that we're playing into May and June. You know what I mean? But now it's like, if you're not playing well, you're done. All right. So I'm down. There's not too much else to say. I don't think about the. I mean, we've seen the Bulls play now. Zach LaVine, as of the 13th, it says LaVine will travel to LA to see a specialist for his left knee injury. I'm not sure like what we've seen. That was today. You know what I mean? So
Oh.
I'm not sure if we're gonna get Zach LaVine. So it might just be the DeMar show at that point. No Lonzo Ball. No Caruso still. No Patrick Williams still. Javonte Green is day to day. And then when it comes to Oklahoma City, they did have one, which was Mike Muscala. He will remain out through the All-Star break. And then no Shea. Shea was out January 29th. I'm not sure if any of you guys have seen anything about him. So winnable games, I guess, is the way I can say it, right? Winnable games. We have a lot of shuffling and things that we're trying to manage and look at, but the ultimate goal is, I think, I mean, imagine if we can go into All-Star break on a 4-0 win, on a 4-game win streak. We can rest a little bit. We can support our guy Dejounte. Like, I think that's where our mindset should be. Like, does anybody feel any different?
I honestly think that the All-Star break is going to kill a lot of our momentum.
Really?
Yeah, because if I think we're playing well, and then we're going to go from the Chicago game to OKC, and we're going to like get things, and then it's just going to be like, I don't know. We're just a young team. I don't see how well we're gonna. I don't see it coming off off of a extended break like that.
Okay, I can see those concerns. We'll see. We'll see how
I'm scared of it. Like you were talking about. Like it used to be a certain way. Like where okay, you got Timmy, Tony, and Manu. Like you got vets everywhere. You got your culture. Like
yeah,
like
the pace of the year is different when you're a good team and when you know where those goals are. And it's been an adjustment of my mind of having to shift over.
Yeah, so I'm a little worried. I don't want to really. It's like I'm taking a bye week off in football. It's like, oh man, like hopefully we come out of this right. More times than not, teams just come out like, most teams are gonna be every team's taking the break, so it's gonna be like, hopefully we can catch some other teams off like on an off night, getting back used to it.
Yeah, exactly. And we're not really going to preview these games today, but when we come back, we'll have Washington. We have a back-to-back right off the bat, Washington and Miami. So, like, I trust our guys and I trust our coaching staff to be able to put their mental in the right place. You know what I mean? Jake, is there anything else that you kind of want to add? Leading into the All-Star break.
There's just one thing in the fact I don't know the exact numbers, but Vucevic has been on a tear these last couple games. So we just have to watch out for that because a big who's playing solid in the offensive end. Yak can only do so much, but sometimes those guys will be able to get a little bit better of him. So you said it was going to be the DeMar show, but it could be DeMar and Vooch. We'll see.
True. No, yeah, and I actually did. I straight up overlooked Vucevic when I was saying all that.
So I mean, it's just show. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. It should be to me, Dejounte, Devin, KJ. It should be like our complimentary. If it's the DeMar show for Chicago, it's the Dejounte show for us. Their complimentary piece is Vucevic, that Ayo DeSumo, Javonte Green's actually not too bad.
One thing I would say is like Dejounte is attacking these teams where like we know they don't have point guards that can guard him. That Trae Young matchup, Dejounte went right at him and was not afraid of the matchup at all. And then in New Orleans, it just felt like that Devontae Graham guy again was just too small.
Those guys can't guard DJ.
And so, like, who is Chicago been starting at point? They played that Ayo guy.
Ayo DeSumo is a defensive minded point guard.
Yeah,
but he's a rookie. He's a second round pick too.
And Dejounte was giving it right to him in that game.
Yeah, but that also means though, like if he's a defensive minded point guard, then that's going to be his primary focus is trying to slow our guy down. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I remember a lot of Chicago fans talking about that matchup last time, and he had been like locking some guys up until that game, and I'm glad DeJounte's not scared to go at people, and not afraid of that, and that's like part of the growth in like.
Heck yeah, because like originally when I got the schedule wrong, I was looking ahead to like that OKC game, and normally a year ago, it's like we were struggling. I can't speak for everybody, but like I remember the shows where we were like, DeJounte's just as good as Shea. Why can't we let's go in with that mindset? And now DeJounte, like when he plays, like it's not there is that mutual respect, but then there's also that like he's starting to feel that little bit of like, oh no, like I'm good. He's like, I'm good, I'm
Yeah.
okay. So
And
I'm looking, I want to see that for the next 2 games. That I want us to sprint into the All-Star weekend. You know what I mean? Versus there's been a couple years where we limp into the All-Star break.
And we didn't really talk about it too much, but just to highlight the fact that like Juan said, like Dejounte cooked Trae Young on the offensive end and did not let Trae Young do a single thing for the first 3 quarters.
I don't even know what
Like
Trae Young's stat line was, but
it was
DeJounte
like
he's getting after it.
yeah,
Mhm.
like Dejounte was so locked down in those first 3 quarters against Trae Young. I don't really care for like fourth quarter stats, especially when we like just won the game at that point.
Yeah. Yeah,
So like
he ended with 18 and 11, but like you said, most of that probably coming in when the game is already out of hand. At this point.
so it's just like that's like, I mean, yeah, if we're going against a second rounder, he has flashes. That Ayo Dosunmu, I'm not trying to discredit him or anything, but you're going against a guy who's still young, who's still a baby. DeJounte should still cook, and we should still be able to like take care of business
Yeah.
with our depth,
Yeah.
with our
Well,
depth.
so in rationalizing those games, Chicago and Oklahoma City, let's just put it on onto how you think it's gonna go, right? So Jake, let's start with you. We got 2 games. How you feeling?
I think it's a simple 2-0. I think it's a simple 2-0, especially if we haven't seen no reports from Shea saying anything. No reports from Shea saying anything like if he's going to play or not. And if Shea doesn't play for OKC, then that should just be in the bag. That should just be our game in the bag. We didn't necessarily talk about OKC too much, but I'm just saying like that's their star player. If he's not there, they shouldn't have any reason to beat us. We should not let a single upset happen against us against OKC ever again. So
Yeah, right.
and then Chicago. We talked about it. I'm gonna say that we'll be 2-0 against those guys.
All right. Juan, is it as simple?
Yeah, definitely 2-0. DeJounte had like a darn near 30-point triple double against Chicago way back when. I think he can go repeat that,
Mhm.
and especially because of the tear he's been on. I think he's rolling right now, and I think he'll lead the way. I think he'll make up for anything else. Like if we're lacking in another department, DeJounte's that guy, and especially against OKC, I'd like to see Devin and Keldon get like a lot more feature. Primo get some featured role in that game because we know it's against a team like the Houstons and like stuff like that. Go out there, take care of business. Let's get some guys some good looks.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm the same way. I think, like you said, DeMar being on a tear kind of you can bank on that negating some of or a lot of the offensive production that you're going to see from a guy like DeMar DeRozan. And then at that point, if we can just really lean on Jakob to kind of slow down Vucevic, then we should have enough. You know what I mean? And like you said, we've played well against Boston. We've played well against Chicago. We've played well against some of these teams that are good teams. And they're not at full strength either. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. So I think we should have enough of that. That's the bigger test of the two. Don't want to overlook OKC too much because we've played bad against OKC too. Like as much as it's frustrating, I hate it. I freaking hate it. Not to I don't know why I'm always trying to like slander this guy's name. Not to bring like Dort back into the picture or anything like that. But like that guy is good, and I appreciate him being able to make a name for himself over the past I think at least 2 years. I don't know if he's been in the league longer than 2 years. But he's been able to make his name for himself as a defender, and he can shoot a little bit from the outside and this and that. There's zero reason why a guy like Dort should be able to hold any of our guys down defensively, like from the perimeter, just put him in space. Our guys are long, athletic. He's short and stout and stocky. We should be able to negate that. Same thing with a guy like Giddey. I like his energy. I like that he can play too. But we should have enough, especially with no Shea. So,
Yep.
Josh also chimed in on our group chat with a 2-0. So I mean, let's hope that in a week's time we're sitting back ready to take a good breath and enjoy our All-Star weekend with Dejounte representing us out there. Could have don't want to say shoulda woulda coulda could have had Keldon have its representation in the 3-point. Could have probably had Devin in there in that Rising Star Challenge. Could have had a lot of good representation from us. But we can take our wins where they come. I do think that Dejounte being in the All-Star conversations, him getting in, the way he's playing after they announced him, the more people that are just in general talking about him, I think that all of that is going to be a positive for our guys moving forward. So who knows, in 2 to 3 years, maybe you will see more San Antonio out there, and it's hard to deny people playing well. So the same way that Dejounte said a couple years ago, we got to make them talk about us. We got to make them respect us. So we're on our way.
That's what I was gonna say, because like they got guys like Desmond Bane. He's a second-year player in the 3-point contest, and it's because his team is third in the West. You know what I mean? Like it's like things like that. They got teams that are winning, teams that are on TV. We got it, and I love Dejounte's mindset. We're gonna make them talk about us.
Yeah,
we're gonna get it right. So and Dejounte, he's making them talk about him right now. He's playing way too well. He's got his numbers up to 29-8. At one point this year, he was like 17-7-7, and he's just gotten better like throughout the year, and so it's great.
Yep, I agree. So with that 2-0, well, I guess I should say with an updated scoreboard, all 4 of us were correct with our prediction for last week, which was a 2-1 week. So the updated, we got Jake moving to 2. Juan has now pushed back out of the negatives. He's at 0. I'm on my march back to 0 at -3, and then Josh is at -5 down at the bottom. So we'll continue to keep monitoring our thing. I think we will. I don't know. Jake's lead is probably safe at this point. Well, Juan's the dark horse. I guess what I should say is I think it's safe to say me and Josh are out for first. But my goal is, can I get into the positives? I think all of us are going to start marching forward a little bit. I think we will have a good finish to the year. So with that being said, I don't know if there's anything else anybody else wants to add. Interrupt me if you do, but I think we had a pretty full discussions today. A lot of stuff. Next week we will be back on the 20th next Sunday, which will be we'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be able to kind of see where we're at. 1 week more removed from the trade and all that kind of stuff. Maybe we'll feel different. I'm not sure.
Yep, and we'll be able to talk a little bit more about Dejounte being an All-Star. It'll be that night at that point, so that'll be fun.
Exactly. So we'll be approaching. That's what I'm saying. We'll be right up on the All-Star game. I think that's where I was kind of headed. So super excited for all that. And then maybe next week we can add we'll add a little bit more since we only have 2 games. We'll add in some extra things that we'll kind of talk about. That'll be fun. But all right, guys, I appreciate it. Today was a fun talk. Good way to spend the morning, and now everybody else can start getting ready for Super Bowl Sunday and flip.
Who y'all got?
Yeah, Super Bowl prediction. I got the Bengals. I got the Bengals winning. If I had to go like an exact score, I'm gonna go 34-28. Bengals.
34-28. Okay.
All right. I'll go next because I don't follow NFL that much to make like a prediction. I will say that I'm rooting for the Bengals. Not that I'm like anti-LA or anything like that. Well, kind of, but I just like I got the chance to see the Bengals play a couple times since the postseason started, and they're a lot of fun. And also, like, everybody's rallying behind their quarterback, and he's a young guy and all that. It's just a good story. And also, I'm thinking back to 2015, Cavaliers versus Warriors. Both were looking for either their first title in ever or their first title in a long, long time. It was like, I'm cool with whoever wins. This time, it's like Cincinnati looking for their first title. Give me that Bengals Super Bowl. I'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm personally very much anti-LA. I'll never be pro LA. You'll never see me ever cheer for an LA team. Shout out to our cousin Drew. Shout out to Claudia. Yeah. I mean, I think I saw the Bengals kind of start to win, and I was like, man, that's so cool. Then I hear that their quarterback listens to New York City Rage Fest before every game, and I'm like, oh, Cuddy fan, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Now everybody that is like anti-LA, or even everybody who's like just Kid Cudi fans, they're all like Toledo, what up? Columbus,
Yeah,
what up?
yeah.
Ohio, what up?
Exactly. So, it's easy for me to say that I'm rooting for the Bengals. I don't necessarily have a score to put up, but I'm gonna say that it's going to be a win by the Shooter McPherson. It's going to go down to from that kicker, man.
Yeah, walk off field goal for the win.
We've
Yeah,
seen
what
it a
I'm gonna
lot we've seen it a lot this postseason, man. Kickers have
Oof.
come through big time.
And that guy, that kid, man, I love that story. I love that story. It's definitely one of those things like you love hearing like that's why you use a 5th rounder to draft a kicker. That's why you do it. It's like, yeah, I mean, he's been killer for them. So
Right on, right on.
that's my take.
Yeah, well, we'll be able to see it. So, hopefully, if you guys checked in at any point of this 2 hours that we've been on, hopefully you guys enjoyed some of the Spurs talk. Follow us over at our Twitter page at Heroes Half Court. It's a lot of fun. We just in the past couple of days we're able to get a handful of new followers along. Just engaging in a lot of the trade talks and a lot of the DJ love as well too. So I mean that's really the same stuff that we did today. That's what we try to talk about all the time, right? Or I guess I should say that's the stuff that we talk about all the time. It's part of the reason we started the show is because we just talk to each other about the game all day long, all the time. So. Really appreciate it. Appreciate my brothers here for joining me on Sunday too. It was a good talk. We'll be back next Sunday, February 20th. So we'll see you then. Until then though, peace out guys. We're done. Bye bye.